McCullough. Jon, good evening. Thanks for being with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Wow, this is going to be, well, we're on the cusp of a brand new football season. Your West Shamokin Wolves. At this time of the year, everybody's an unknown. So Tell me about your team in the off season and what you were anticipating and what you've seen in this first couple of weeks of practice.
Right. For us, we're a team that we lost a decent amount to graduation last year, but we have a group of kids who I really enjoyed being around. They've put in a lot of hard work here in the off season in the weight room and throughout the summer and 7-on-7s. And I'm really excited to see what we look like here Friday night. I'm optimistic. I feel we can be a really good team, but we still have a lot of improving to do.
When you have a veteran team, as you have had the past couple of years, kids know what to anticipate, kids know what to expect, they know what to do in practice. You find that with this group of kids, that they know what they're doing and what is expected of them?
Well, I mean, there's still some older kids who've been, that's been around for a while. Jaden Haswell, he's a senior and he's been around for 3 years, starting. Same with Brandon Faber, who's going to be a 4-year starter for us. So, we're leaning on those guys to sort of, lead the way and to, help guide these younger guys that are stepping into starter roles, and to ease that transition for them.
One of the things we notice a lot when you have an inexperienced team is in training camp or even in the off season, you sort of target a kid for this position or that position. By the middle of the season, you might be playing an entirely different position, and your team might look entirely different than maybe you had even anticipated. You find that with this group of kids? Do you pretty well solid on where the kids are going to play, or is it pretty flexible?
Well, like you said, whenever you have a bunch of new guys that are stepping into roles, you have an idea of where kids are going to fit, but once it becomes real and you get into live situations, things can change. So, right now, there's a couple spots that we feel that we could move around, but it could be a week-to-week process here until we really figure everything out.
One of the things I've noticed about Jaden in past years, especially on kickoffs, is he seems to have really good field vision.
Yes.
He can watch the holes develop around him. I would guess that would be a translatable skill to the quarterback position.
Yes. Jaden has a pretty unique skill set. You mentioned before about him on kick returns. There was a lot of instances last year where we used him in a lot of different ways. Whether it be at halfback or splitting him out wide. This year now he's transitioned to be a quarterback, and I look at it this way: if he's probably arguably our best player, and if we can get the ball in his hands every play, I don't think that's a bad thing.
Running belly, is that something that he seems pretty comfortable with?
Well, it's something that will be in his skill set.
Develop.
Yes.
It'll develop as the season goes
Right.
along, and of course you put that ball in the fullback's belly, and sometimes he has that idea that okay, it's here, I'm grabbing it, and that has to be a special skill too.
Yeah, and thing is too, we have a couple kids that are stepping in now at that spot as well, that we feel really good about. Elijah Linhart, Logan McClafferty are two kids who are stepping in and becoming starters, and I think that they'll be decent ball players for us.
One of the things about your team in the most recent seasons is not the biggest along the line, fairly decent size for the Heritage Conference, but they've always been quick up upon that line of scrimmage, both offensively and defensively. It takes some coaching for that to happen. You must have a pretty good group of guys that are leading them.
Yeah, I think we do. The staff that I have in place, I've been lucky enough to have these guys for a while, and whenever you have continuity, it goes a long way. The kids feel comfortable, whenever you have guys that have been there for a while. my guys. You're only as good as the people you have around you.
Absolutely. So tell me about some of those guys up front. Have there been guys who in the off season you thought would develop, and you're seeing that in training camp? Or are there some guys stepping up that maybe surprised you a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, our line is actually one of the spots where we do have guys returning. 3 of our 5 starters are back on the offensive line, with Kevin Schaefer at center and our 2 tackles, and Troy Goldstrom and Brandon Faber. Those 3 guys were also starters on our defensive line, as well as DJ Reedy. So, what's nice is, we've lost some guys, on the back end, but hopefully, with the experience we have up front, that can help ease, that transition of inexperienced guys to the point that they can get caught up to speed.
The fellas that'll have their hands on the ball most often for your team offensively, obviously Jaden, the quarterback, and the fullbacks you mentioned as well. Who are some of the other names that we're going to hear, and is there somebody that has stood out in camp and really developed?
Like I said, Elijah Linhart, Logan McClafferty, Dylan Wolf, who's a freshman, who's been really impressive for us. We got some receivers, Owen Stover, Ethan Osterling, who just came out this year, from playing soccer. He's been really impressive. There's plenty of guys I feel that can be productive for us.
Defensively, Coach, your linebackers have always been a strength, and really the middle of that defensive line, I've always liked the way that those guys play. You've got a lot of fellas to replace, particularly the linebacking core. Yeah,
all 4 of our linebackers graduated from last year. So, that's what I was saying before too. With our defensive line, with all 4 of the guys who are most likely starting for us, have been consistent starters, or have starting experience in certain times. So we're going to rely on those guys pretty heavily. But at the same time, we have guys stepping into those spots who have been waiting their turn. At linebacker. And we've seen a lot of good things from them over the summer and here in camp, but we also see some things that need to get better. And I fully expect with time that we will get there.
All right, so Friday night is getting here pretty quick, and you've got the Purchase Line Red Dragons. That's a big football team, and they've got some fellas that have carried the ball for a while.
Yes, Purchase Line. I was messing with Matt there early in the spring, and I told him, I said, you guys are the sleeper team this year, because they have all of these experienced ball players back. I think they only had 3 seniors from last year's team, and they're really starting to gel there at the end of last season. And they're big up front. They're physical. They got Gonchar there at fullback. Seister is a really good halfback. So we have our hands full Friday night. It's not going to be an easy ball game at all for us.
Yeah. And they have a quarterback who's tall and can get the ball down the field too.
Yes, yeah, he's a good kid, because he had a pretty good game at receiver against us there a couple years ago too. So we've known about him for a while as well, but he can throw it. He also runs option pretty well for them. They're not short on ball players.
Friday night, first week of the regular season. That's a tough draw for you, the Purchase Line Red Dragons. In the ensuing days, tomorrow and the next day and the next, what are you saying to your team to get them ready to play an actual football game?
Well, I told them today. You have to realize, Friday night when we're going there, this is a team that is going to be very confident. They're senior heavy. They're playing at home. So we have to go there and be at our best. Play physical, smart, mistake-free football to be able to beat these guys.
You were telling me earlier, we could be 7-3, we could be 3-7. That seems to be the case in the Heritage Conference with a lot of teams, doesn't it?
Yeah, the conference is so balanced. Top the ball. Obviously you have Ligonier, who's top dog, and until someone proves that they can knock them off, they're going to be at the top of the top of the mountain. But after them, they're all good football teams. You can't have an off night, because if you do, you're going to get beat. That's just the way it is. Last year, it was just every night. You never knew who was going to beat who. We were in a lot of tight ball games last year, and they could have went either way. So I fully expect that to be the same this year.
Coach, thanks so much for being with us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Jon McCullough, head coach of the West Shamokin Wolves, getting set for purchase line on Friday. Jack?